Good evening once again. Hope you're having a good Wednesday. Got a little bit of a cool down over the past day or two down here in Texas, a little stratosphere, and I don't know if you noticed a little bit of differential motion to the clouds there. And that's always a good indicator of thermal advection. And we'll check that out on the charts. Astronomy-wise, I took a look, and there's really not much going on. Just a full moon on the 12th on Sunday at during the morning hours, and daylight saving time is coming this weekend. And unfortunately, we do spring forward. I wanted to show you one interesting thing on the charts here. This is the thickness and isobars. I ran this back to Monday during the midday hours. And you can see that very strong system in the northern plains up there in North Dakota. And most of all, this very strong pressure gradient up here from Manitoba all the way down to western North Dakota. And you can see that we developed this very strong gradient, blizzard conditions in western Manitoba on Tuesday, and then that moved very quickly to the north. And another thing that I wanted to show you, the fronts. You can see that that low pressure is right there along the frontal boundaries. So this is definitely a baroclinic system. But let's roll this forward and see what happens to this, looks like a 975 millibar low. So we see that track to the north, and there it goes up into Hudson Bay. And wait a second, look at the pressure grade. Look at the fronts. What happened here? Looks like the stronger front well off to the east. So we redraw everything. Looks like our low has separated from the warm and cold front, and we're left with this occluded front coming all the way back. So this is that surface low starting to become barotropic and starting to disengage from the thermal contrasts way out to the east. And it does hold a pretty low central pressure, but if we keep following it, this is right now, this is Wednesday evening, and then we follow it some more, and that goes all the way up to, let me see if I'm making sure this isn't going off the top of the screen. Yeah, there it goes all the way up to Baffin Island, and then it's pretty much starting to dissipate right in this area right here. So that's kind of the life cycle, the decaying, the dissipation of a low pressure area, and shows you how it disengages from the thermal contrast way out to towards the equator. There's another low on its way to its death, and another low right here. And this is very reminiscent of the circulations we have in supercells. You get a occlusion of the mesocyclone, and maybe you look out to the east and there's like a new wall cloud and new updraft base forming out to the east. So anyway, yeah, that's what's happening, and let me switch back and get back on track here. Very warm day here in Texas as usual, lower 70s. Got 70s all the way up to I-70 and Memphis, Atlanta. And the cold weather is found well up to the north. And it looks like temperatures are starting to come down up in northern Canada. Let's check out the 500 millibar chart here. And we're showing that vague northwesterly flow that we've been in for the past couple months. It's been enough to cool down the northeast U.S., but not much of the rest of the U.S. Pretty much a lot of ridging predominating across the Rocky Mountain region. In the west coast, getting some ridging right now, but that will be changing towards the weekend. Let's take a look at the 850 chart, 850 millibar chart, 5,000 feet, and we haven't looked at this very much, but let's analyze that a little bit. We can see over Florida, this is almost certainly the tropical air mass, and we see temperatures about 11 this morning, so that's going to be about 52 up at 5,000 feet. And then we go up to the north, we cool down to -2. We cool down to 1 and 2. That's the tail end of that front coming in from the north. So there's the 850 millibar front, and maybe even a little bit of a cooler push up near the Great Lakes. I might even draw a secondary front back behind it like that. And this will be a little significant as we take a look at the thickness chart. So bear that in mind, from about Chicago to about Aberdeen and then up to Saskatchewan. Okay, so yeah, let's look at that thickness chart. Let me pull that up real quick. So this is this evening's thickness chart, and we can see a little bit of a tight gradient in here. Remember, our 850 millibar front was kind of in this area, and we usually find the surface front a little bit south of that upper level front. So maybe we're going to be looking for that front in this area. It doesn't quite show up in here. We do see a little bit of troughing in this region. But if we look at the 1000 through 850, we can see that tightens up a little bit right there. So we're cutting that air mass through a shallower layer near the surface. And there we go. There's our front right there, from northern Missouri up to the Rapid City area and then up to the Canadian Rockies. And that's definitely an area I recommend checking out around Banff National Park out near Jasper. Very beautiful mountains out there. This is probably not the best time of year to go there, but certainly in May and June, very picturesque in that region. And it looks like the front actually goes through these valleys in here in northern British Columbia. So you see it like that. So this 850 millibar chart, this 1000 through 850 chart can be very helpful for finding tough to find fronts. Let's look at the surface chart, maybe see if we see a little bit of that. Looking here in British Columbia, we see 30s in the valleys, around Kamloops, around, going through my mind trying to remember the cities. I don't know this area too well. I know Prince George is up in this area. But as we go north, we do see a little bit more of this northerly front, or this northerly wind. So that's the polar air kind of pushing through northern British Columbia right there, coming through the passes of Juneau, Skagway in here. So we don't often go this far north, but a little something different right there. And let's come back down south and look at the rest of the U.S. There's that front in North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska. Shows up pretty well on the surface chart right there. Okay, so before I go much further, let me take a look at chat, and looks pretty busy. So I probably can't go through all the messages here, but I see Andrew here, first one on as usual. Sue M, always the second one on. Mark Davis, Steve Loves God is here. And Kevin McKinney, Jason Boggs, Alexi, Fred Reamer, Arabic name, and of course my Arabic's a bit rusty. Eddie W, Victor Cabot, Nor'easter for this next weekend, or next week. Yeah, we'll check that out. Explanation for the warm winter, I don't have one. I mean, you could call it global warming, but then you think again, global warming is only right now on the order of maybe 1 or 2 degrees Celsius, and we're seeing temperatures way up above that. So may not be directly global warming, but maybe we are seeing some feedback effects in the atmosphere here. But let me show you one interesting little chart here, since we're on the subject. And if you want to go here, you can put in temperature anomaly and GFS. And this will go to this Karsten Haustein site. And this is good for keeping track of temperature anomalies around the globe. And one chart I like to look at is this global one right here. And this just basically shows you what areas are running above normal and which are running below normal. And you can see, yeah, a lot of the world is above normal at this time, but there's some areas that are also below normal. Northern Canada, Alaska, Greenland. That's definitely good for Greenland. The Ural areas, a lot of the southern hemisphere running a little bit below normal. But yeah, I do see a lot of red on this chart, and it seems like that's been the trend over the past few years here. Brett Dean is here, and let's see, Chris Ayers, Ryan Toomey's, wind still blowing hard off the east coast there in Florida, fires raging. Yeah, that's bad news there. Sarah Wood, very windy there in Indiana under a high wind warning. Let's see, that's pretty much it. Yeah, Victor Kebo says winds over Chicago this afternoon at 7,000. We're up to 103 knots. Yeah, that's pretty serious wind there. Just above 850, and I don't think I've ever seen 100-knot winds at 850. So yeah, that's pretty significant there. And let me see if I can pull that up on the SPC upper air analysis. I'm going to start using this side more because it's got up-to-date upper air charts. So let's see, 850 at 12Z. Well, maybe I can use this Canadian chart, but this is a 12Z this morning, and we can see 60-knot winds there at the Quad Cities, 55 at Minneapolis right there. So yeah, there's a little bit of leeway there for stronger than average winds. Very strong pressure gradient through the Lake Michigan area there. SPC site acting a little bit weird here. Oh well. Anyway, let's move on here, and let me check my stream and make sure everything's fine. Okay, yeah, let's head on. This is the infrared satellite imagery. So the purple areas are where we have very strong radiance back to the satellite from the surface. So during the afternoon hours, very warm conditions from El Paso to southern Arizona right here. And on the other hand, very cold temperatures up in the Great Lakes here. And some of this is being reflected from the surface, and some is being reflected from clouds. And of course, as you get further back in the cold air, it gets a lot harder to differentiate the two there. But we're seeing a little bit of increasing influence from the subtropical jet. So we've probably got that just to the south in this area right here. So that pretty much takes us to the dynamics, and let me bring that chart up. And I should point out the 500 millibar chart here is not going to be showing the subtropical jet. We're going to have to use that upper air chart to get that. And SPC site just not responding there, so I'm going to try pulling up the College DuPage weather analysis site. COD weather, you can put that in your browser, and they've got a very excellent analysis page there. They even have the isentropic analysis maps, which are very hard to find on the internet. So we go up to 250 millibars. And we can see that subtropical jet well to the south. Although I do see very strong winds down here. It looks like it's kind of blended with this polar front jet well up to the north. So probably something a little bit like that right there. Polar front jet up to the north and subtropical jet down to the south like that. Okay, so let's analyze our 500 millibar heights and vorticity and get an idea where the strongest dynamics are. And that's our current frame right there. And we can see that there's a very strong channeled effect to the vorticity. So things are being dominated by the most part by the jet stream energy rather than disturbances moving through the flow. So maybe something like that. And let me go back to this chart here. I do see a kind of a difference here. I think I was looking at old data. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, this is going to be current data here. So probably not as strong as a subtropical jet down to the south as I thought. Maybe a little bit of a weak bit of flow through there, but the main polar front jet well up to the north in through here. So I guess mostly we have probably just some upper level moisture working through this area. Up at 200 millibars, let me see. Let me go down to the soundings down in that region. And yeah, this looks like where we do pick up those subtropical jets. See, way up here, 60, 70, 80 knot winds. We have to get pretty high up there in the tropopause to find that. This is going to be 200 millibars, and this is going to be 100. So that 200 millibar chart is really critical. I think that 250 chart kind of undercuts that layer right there. So let's see, up to the north, most of the strong dynamics moving through the Canadian Maritimes. Looks things are kind of clearing out through the central U.S. And the next shot of energy is going to be on Saturday. This next wave coming through Montana here. There it goes right there. And that's going to bring a chance of snow, mixed precipitation, and rain to the central Mississippi River Valley area over the weekend. One more shot coming to the south here around Monday. Bit of troughing in the eastern U.S., and then we get this ridge starting to build into the plains. One little wave coming down through here. Yeah, another wave. Then finally that ridge kicks on off to the east the following weekend on March 19th. And then we get more into more of a zonal flow. There comes another wave. So we're pretty much dominated by a ridge to the west and some persistent troughing to the east right here. So I think it's time to head into the forecast. So let's do that. Let me get the chart set up. And here we go. So there's our evening analysis right there. High pressure over the Atlanta area, starting to get some warm air advection setting up over Texas, bringing that moisture back northward. A little bit of a lee side troughing in Colorado. And we run that forward, not a whole lot of change over the next couple of days. Looks like by tomorrow's webcast, we're going to see a little bit of a front getting set up through the Missouri, Kansas, Colorado area. And that'll kind of sink southward into Texas. It's not going to make very much progress southward because we have this next system upstream starting to move down the backside of that front right there. So you see that right there, moving in through the Wyoming, Nebraska area and then into Missouri here. Looks like the main front is well to the south out in this area here. So this will be mostly driven by isentropic lift above that cold dome and upper level destabilization. And then finally, as that moves eastward, we're going to get the main cold front kick that southward. A little bit of ridging in Texas here, and then the next system comes in from Nebraska here. So maybe another round of frontogenesis in this area right here. We're talking about Monday the 13th. That'll move southeastward and mostly be kind of a mid-level system. And there comes another little clipper coming southward here. And not much left of that on the 15th. And then kind of a mild, fair period of weather. One little clipper coming through here on the 16th. There comes another one. So that'll keep the pattern marginally active through the mid-month period. Then looks like we get a kind of a Pacific system moving through after that here. There it goes on the 20th and 21st. So I don't think we're going to see much in the way of severe weather here in Texas or the East Coast, or the Gulf Coast. It's probably going to be around the 22nd, 23rd before we get that going again. Okay, let's see. That's probably about all I got. Let me take one last look at the chat. Mike Estwick checking in right there. Talking about the winds there in Chicago. Weather in Las Cruces, perfect for getting roof repaired. Yeah, it looks a little bit drier in that area compared to the past few days. And Mike says he's been sick with a 101 fever. Sorry about that. I hope you get better here. Anyway, I think that's about all I got for tonight. If you have any suggestions for the webcast, you're welcome to email me as usual. That's going to be at weathergraphics.com under the contact page. And I'm always looking for videos. If you have any video of any weather going on, even if it's just fair skies, send that along to the same address, weathergraphics.com, under the contact page, and we'll see if we can put that on. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.